Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to talk about something that was supposed to change the world, the metaverse. But this isn't some look back at the hype. Oh no, we are talking about the crazy, revolutionary AI that's finally starting to build these new digital worlds, not with lines of code, but with just a few simple words. So, let's just get right into it. This is the question on everyone's mind, right? A couple of years back, you couldn't escape the word metaverse. It was the future of everything. And then crickets. It all went kind of quiet. So, what actually happened? Was the whole idea a bust, or was it just waiting in the wings for the right tech to show up?
Before we can really appreciate where we're going, we have to understand the problem. The promise of the metaverse was absolutely huge, but the reality? It was often kind of clunky, kind of empty. There were some really big hurdles that kept these virtual worlds from feeling, real.
I mean, at its heart, the idea is pretty straightforward. You can think of it as a virtual world where we can all hang out and interact with each other and with digital stuff. It's basically the next step for the internet, a shared 3D space that's always on. But building a space like that, one that you actually want to spend time in, that's the really hard part. So what was missing? Well, the most important stuff, really. For this whole metaverse thing to work, it needed to feel real, to be truly immersive. The world couldn't just be static, boring backdrops. They had to feel alive, dynamic, believable. And maybe most importantly, they needed endless, engaging, personalized content to make you want to come back. These weren't just small issues. They were massive roadblocks. But here's the twist. For every single one of those problems, a really powerful solution is finally here. And yep, you guessed it, it's all being driven by artificial intelligence. AI is the secret ingredient, the catalyst that the metaverse has been desperately waiting for. You see, AI just demolishes those challenges we talked about. It can generate stunning, realistic 3D models and simulate physics to make things immersive. It can understand what you like and serve up personalized content that actually keeps you hooked. And it can automate the Herculean task of creating content, which, let's be honest, would be impossible for humans to do on the scale that the metaverse needs. Now, AI is a huge catch-all term. The real game changer, the specific piece of tech that's making all this possible, is something called a world model. And it's exactly what it sounds like. So a world model is an AI that doesn't just recognize things in a picture. It actually builds a little simulated version of the world in its mind. It can predict how things will change and what will happen if you take a certain action. It's less like a camera taking a static photo and more like a full-blown physics engine for reality itself. It builds a dynamic world that understands cause and effect. And that brings us to the absolute star of the show today, Google's Genie. This isn't just some theory on a whiteboard. This is a real, working world model. And it can generate interactive, playable, explorable worlds from nothing more than a sentence you type into a box. Okay, so let's get into how mind-blowing this really is. Forget spending months in complicated 3D modeling software. We're talking about spinning up entire worlds just by describing what you want to see. Let's look at a few prompts that were given to Genie. Just imagine typing that sentence. You're not just getting back a pretty picture or some pre-made video. You're asking for a controllable, simulated experience that gets the physics, the feel, the entire vibe of that specific moment. And that example right there just perfectly shows off one of Genie's superpowers. It can model the physical properties of our world. It understands how helicopters should move, the way water should fall, how light should bounce off a cliff face. It builds a world that behaves the way you intuitively think it should. All right, let's try another one. This prompt is all about being in nature, about exploring. It's not just describing a place, it's describing an activity in that place. The AI has to generate not just a pretty lake, but the actual experience of running alongside it. And that's exactly what it does. Genie can simulate the natural world, creating these incredible, vibrant ecosystems, right down to the little details of plant life and the feeling of a mountain stream flowing under your feet. It makes a space that feels alive and just begs to be explored. But, and this is so cool, it's not limited to just reality. What if you want something straight out of a video game or a dream? This prompt asks for a completely fantastical scene, with its own art style, its own physics, its own everything. And this just shows you the incredible range this thing has. It can ditch photorealism and jump straight into the world of animation and pure fiction. It can literally tap into your imagination and build worlds and characters that could never exist, but that you can now jump into and play with. Okay, this is amazing research for sure. But how does something this complex get from a Google DeepMind lab into the hands of you and me? Well, the next step is turning this incredibly powerful model into a tool anyone can use.
And that tool is called Project Genie. This is the experimental app, the interface that lets actual users type in those prompts and then, boom, jump right into the worlds they just streamed up. It's the bridge from the lab to the creator.
And the whole process is broken down into 3 super intuitive steps. First, there's world sketching, where you just describe the world you want with text or even images. Then, world exploration, where you actually jump in and navigate it in real time. And finally, world remixing, which lets you take other people's worlds and build on them or change them to make them your own. So this technology is a massive, massive leap forward. But let's be real, it's still super early. To get the full picture, we've got to look at where it is today, warts and all, and where it's headed tomorrow. Now, to be fair, the researchers are really open about the limitations right now. The things your character can actually do in these worlds are still pretty basic. Simulating worlds with lots of other independent characters is still a huge challenge, and it can't, say, perfectly recreate your hometown just yet. Plus, for now, you can only play in these worlds for a few minutes at a time. These are the big problems they're working to solve. But if you look past those current limits, the future potential is just staggering. Seriously, this isn't just about making cooler video games or finally delivering on the metaverse promise. This technology opens up endless possibilities for super realistic training simulations, for pilots, for surgeons, you name it. It's an infinite, safe sandbox where we can train the next generation of robots and AI agents. For the researchers, it's a critical stepping stone on the long road to what they call artificial general intelligence, or AGI. And that brings us right back to the start. The metaverse dream kind of stalled because we just couldn't build these worlds fast enough or make them interesting enough to stick around. But now, with tech like this, the power to create a universe is becoming as simple as the power to describe one. So that really only leaves one question to chew on. If you could create any world with just a few sentences, what would you build first?